It was a brisk morning in Richmond, Virginia. The air carried the scent of fresh coffee, mingling with the low hum of city traffic. On the corner of Broad Street, across from a lively cafe, stood a man beside a modest display of American flags. His name was Walter Grant, a 66-year-old Vietnam veteran. With weathered hands and a slightly stooped back, his white beard framed eyes that still burned with quiet strength. Every morning, Walter unfolded the flags with care, smoothing out the creases, then stood tall, offering them for $5 apiece. He wasn't seeking pity. He was selling dignity. A handmade cardboard sign leaned behind him. Flags for sale. Veteran owned. Honor never retires. Most people walked by without a glance. A few gave a nod. Rarely did anyone stop. Walter never took it personally. What they didn't know was that the flags weren't about income. They were about something far deeper. That morning, a black SUV with darkened windows pulled up to the traffic light nearby. No one yet knew who sat inside. Walter didn't glance up. He simply adjusted a flag on its pole. Then the door opened. A tall man stepped out, recognizable immediately by his golden hair and commanding presence. It was President Donald J. Trump. Gasps rose from passers-by. Phones appeared in hands. But Trump walked directly toward the flag stand. No security barriers between him and Walter. Walter blinked in surprise. "Can I help you, sir?" Trump gave a nod. "You already have." Walter's hands shook faintly, not from age but disbelief. Standing before the President of the United States was no ordinary morning. Trump glanced at the flags, then back at Walter. "Vietnam?" Walter nodded. 1969, Mekong Delta. Trump extended his hand with quiet respect. "Thank you for your service." They shook hands. Walter, always humble, replied, "Just did my part." Trump picked up a flag, running his fingers along the fabric. "You sell these?" "Yes, sir. $5 each. The money goes to buy boots for homeless vets. Winter hits hard." Trump studied him, reading sincerity in every weathered line on Walter's face. "You're out here every day?" "Every day I can stand," Walter said with a faint grin. Trump looked around, then back. "And people just pass by, not knowing." Walter shrugged. "Some stop, most don't. I don't blame anyone. I just believe the flag should stand for them even if the world forgets." Trump pulled out his wallet, but Walter gently stopped him. "No donations, only purchases." Trump smiled. "Then I'll buy every flag you've got." As Trump helped gather the flags, agents cautiously approached. He waved them off. "Let him bag them." Walter bent down and carefully folded each one into a cloth duffel bag. "You sure you want all of them?" "Every one," Trump replied. "That'll be $135, sir," Trump chuckled. "Most expensive flag buy I've ever made." He handed Walter $200. "Keep the change. Get another vet some boots." Walter nodded slowly. "Every penny will." A crowd had begun to gather. Veterans nearby removed their caps. Some saluted. Others stood in silence. A young boy tugged at his father's hand and whispered, "Is that really the president?" Walter turned to the boy. "Yes, and realer than most people ever get to see." Trump knelt beside the child and handed him a folded flag. "This is yours. Learn what it stands for." "I will, sir," the boy said softly. That street corner was no longer just pavement. It became a place where respect, service, and stories collided. By evening, the video went viral. Headlines read, "President buys every flag from veteran leaves." Crowd speechless. News anchors debated its authenticity. Some praised the gesture, others questioned motives. But Walter didn't care. He hadn't asked for cameras or praise. The next morning, he was back on the same corner with a fresh stack of flags. A woman in a business suit stopped. "Are you the man from the video?" Guilty, Walter smiled. She handed him a $20 bill. "Keep the flag. Just wanted to say thanks." Throughout the day, more came. A trucker gave him a hot cup of coffee. College students sat at the curb to hear his stories. One returned with a spare sleeping bag for a vet Walter had once mentioned. By midday, every flag was gone again. But something had shifted, not politics, but people. Walter whispered, "Guess this corner's remembered now." He didn't know what was coming. 2 days later, in his modest apartment, sipping instant coffee, Walter's landline rang. "Mr. Grant?" "Yes." "This is Colonel Hayden with the Department of Veterans Affairs. The President asked us to reach out. He was moved by your work. You're invited to a private event at the White House. Just a small gathering of veterans. No formality, just gratitude." Walter was stunned. "I don't even own a suit." "Don't worry," Hayden replied. "We'll take care of that." Within hours, 2 Secret Service agents arrived, silent and respectful, carrying a custom-tailored suit. Walter brushed a hand across the fine fabric. "Don't cry," he whispered. "You already did that in '69. When Walter arrived at the White House, he wasn't impressed by the grandeur or the press. His eyes locked on a folded flag resting on the president's desk. Trump greeted him warmly. "Walter, I'm glad you came." Walter nodded, eyes still on the flag. "That's one of yours," Trump said quietly. "You kept it. I keep what matters." Around the room, other veterans sat quietly. The atmosphere was solemn, not political, human. Walter cleared his throat. "Sir, if you want to help, don't just take my flag. Take my mission." "What do you need?" Trump asked. Walter reached into his coat, pulling out a folded, worn paper. "I keep track of every homeless vet I meet in Virginia. Names, locations, what they need. Most just want boots, a blanket, someone to see them." Trump read the list carefully. "We'll follow up, quietly, no press." "You'd really do that?" "I meant what I said," Trump replied. Walter exhaled. Then maybe this flag stand just turned into something more. Back in Richmond, a small crowd was gathered outside Walter's apartment. Veterans, neighbors. A young woman, teary-eyed, approached. "My father was a Marine. He died homeless. In 2012, thank you for not letting people forget." Walter hugged her. "I carry them all with me." Soon, donations flooded in, not to Walter, but to a quiet new initiative from the White House and VA, Flags to Footsteps. It aimed to support homeless veterans through flags, boots, and outreach. Each flag Walter had sold became a symbol of hope and remembrance. Shipments went out, quietly, no cameras, just respect. Critics called it a stunt. Cable shows debated it. But Walter declined most interviews. "I don't care what they say," he told a local reporter. "A man showed up. He listened. He acted." In just 2 weeks, 213 veterans had been contacted. 37 were housed. 58 got care packages with boots, jackets, and handwritten letters from school children. And Walter, still on the same corner, same sign, but a new smile. One rainy day, a familiar voice called, "You forgot to tie the corner." Walter looked up. Baron Trump? I asked Dad if I could meet someone real. He said to come find you. Walter blinked. "I don't babysit." "I don't need babysitting," Baron replied, "but I'd like to learn how to fold a flag." They spent the day folding flags, sharing stories, handing out care packages, no photos, no speeches, just two Americans, 2 generations, on one mission. Days later, Walter received a letter. "Dear Mr. Grant, you probably don't remember me. I was the guy under the bridge with the busted boot and the dog named Tank. You gave me a flag. I held on to it during the worst nights. I saw your story. I start rehab Monday. Thanks for not forgetting me. CPL." Jake Ramirez Walter wiped a tear. "One at a time," he whispered. A nearby school invited him to speak. He hesitated, then went. Hundreds of kids listened. "These stripes," Walter said, "they're about promises, kept and broken, and making them right." A young girl raised her hand. "Did you lose friends?" Walter nodded. "Too many." Each child went home with a flag and a new sense of what it meant. One day, Trump's aide called. "We found something you should see." In an old military warehouse were thousands of forgotten supplies, boots, coats, socks. Trump had ordered it quietly released for outreach. Walter stood in awe. He really meant it. At a diner, a man scoffed. "You think the president really cares?" Walter replied, "He didn't have to stop. He didn't have to follow through. But he did. And not just for me, for those no one sees." Later, a young veteran sang an army ballad on the stoop near Walter's place. "You've got a good voice," Walter said. "Only when I'm not shaking," the vet replied. "Keep singing," Walter said. That vet started a music group for struggling vets. It grew into a VA-funded therapy program, born from one flag and one man's persistence. Then came the call, "Walter, we want to name a medal after what you've done, for civilians who carry the weight of service." Walter smiled. Then, "I want the first one to go to a nurse. She served in 3 wars and now runs a free clinic for vets." And so, the first folded flag medal went not to Walter, but to someone he had lifted. And on his usual street corner one day, dozens of veterans gathered, flags in hand, boots scuffed, backs straight. They came not just for Walter, they came for the mission,